Good evening. Welcome to the latest Sunday night review show from Last Bell Boxing. Proudly sponsored by LW Liftings and SC Travel. Tonight's show is centered around the weekend's card at the Resort World Arena in Birmingham. Frank Warren's Queensbury card. Before we crack on, and welcome to the show, by the way, boys. The two Dazzers, Daz Medcalf.
Hello, mate. Good. All right, pal.
And our roaming reporter, Darren Aston. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thank you. Cheers.
Before we crack on, mate, how did you enjoy last night?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Thanks. I've done. Is this my third one I've done now for you guys? It was yeah, brilliant experience once again, and I actually managed to get front row on this one. So I had a few people throughout the show sending me screenshots of I've just seen you on telly and that. So
yeah, I seen you. I saw you.
Right, famous for a few hours, yeah.
Welcome to everyone that's watching in the sidebar. Please leave your comments. We'll read them out as we're going along. Let's crack straight on then, boys. Let's crack straight on. The atmosphere, Darren, seemed pretty raucous, especially for the headliner. I was quite surprised how one-sided that arena was.
Yeah, obviously, because I was there, I can tell you like the true reflection of it. I agree as regards the noise, but as regards the amount of people there for each fighter, Liam Davis actually had the more people in the stands where I was sitting ringside. Yeah, where I was sitting ringside, definitely from what I could see. The to the right of me was the Liam Davis fans from Telford, and there was a big section of them. And most of the Shabazz Masood fans on the left-hand side on the floor. Whereas that side, there was the tier wasn't open, so you had like three, sort of like half the arena open. So you had where I was sitting opposite, and then you had the right hand side, and all this right hand side here was the Liam Davis fans, and the Shabazz Masood fans were on the left hand side on the floor. But they probably were the ones that were you could hear the most noise because they were nearest to the ring. But yeah, they created a great atmosphere, and it's a lot of rivalry, but it made the main event fight even better.
Yeah, I mean from the telly, mate. It sounded very one-sided. The atmosphere. I props to Shabazz Masood's fans, because if that was the case, they were the ones making all the noise. Right. Yeah. Let's crack straight on. We'll go straight into the headliner. Obviously, as we're talking about it, Shabazz Masood beat Liam Davis. Split decision, which we'll come on to in a second, but I'm very surprised at that. The scorecards read 113-115, 115-113, and 116-112. This was for Liam Davis's IBO World Super Bantamweight title. Daz, I'll come to you first, mate. Your instant reaction to what went down last night.
I thought Shabazz Masood boxed an absolute masterclass. Boxed really, really well. Boxed to instruction. Obviously, was razor sharp. Taking Nui out of equation. I don't think I've seen a sharper left backhand in that division this year. Just razor sharp, switched on. Just did really well. Before the fight, obviously, I was one who picked Liam. I think we all did. But Liam showed nothing last night except emotion. Fought on emotion. Fought like he believed he was, a major one-hit knockout artist, and just thought he had to hit Shabazz and Shabazz would be asleep, and that's not the case. I think I said my piece last night on our little group chat that what Liam were doing wrong. He was falling in, no head movement, just lack of variety, just no thought, just basically just trying to stop Shabazz, just trying to knock him out with one hit, chasing shadows basically. But I think we cover what Liam did wrong. We know he's obviously fought on emotion, But let's pay massive credit to Shabazz, because even if Liam had been, you know, on point last night, he'd have had a really hard night's work. Shabazz were brilliant. Really, really, really good. I can't sing his praises high enough. I just think he were really, I was very impressed with him. I had him winning that fight by 10 rounds to 2, probably. You know, struggled to give Liam, you know, anything more than that. I also think Liam's tactics were a bit naughty as well. With his elbows and his back at head. I think he was referee were very lenient with him with that. Very, very lenient. But, you know, it is what it is. Right man won in end. But yeah, listen, that wasn't what Liam Davis did wrong show. I think that serves a discredit to Shabazz. That's what Shabazz Masood did right show for me. Very impressed with him. Very impressed.
Darren, just before I come to you, mate, a couple of comments in the sidebar. Carl said he had Masood by 3 or 4 rounds. And we're also joined by Claire. She says, good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to the show, Claire. Carl, as always, mate. Darren, are you surprised how quick and how sharp Shabazz was straight out the gate?
I was probably more because of based on his last performance, which wasn't great. That's the one that lived like in the memory. So you go on that, but we all knew he was capable, but we're just going on previous performance. But it was an absolutely blistering performance. 2 or 3 rounds in, the guys next to me, I said, I can't see Liam Davis winning this fight. He was that good. Masood was. We can say Liam Davis weren't at the races, which is true, but honestly, I think Masood was just that good that Liam Davis, for example, Frank Warren at the end of the fight said, "Oh, wouldn't we all like to see that again?" I can't see Liam Davis ever beating him. I just think he's too slick, too much good movement, too technically gifted compared to Liam Davis, and that's not taking anything away from Liam Davis. I just think he met a better opponent on the night. I mean, where I was sitting, Frank Warren kept shouting to Liam Davis, use your jab, use your jab. And at one point, he looked over at him, nodded, started to try and get on his jab. He got on his jab. He got countered straight away very, very quickly. He couldn't handle the speed of Masood every time he got countered. Just a superb performance, and he deserves like going on to bigger and better things now. But I just want to point out about the judge's scorecard of the judge giving it to Liam Davis. It's just we all talk about judges' scorecards all the time, but that for me was an absolute joke, mind-boggling how that judge could have Liam Davis anywhere near winning that fight. But once again, because of the results gone the right way, which was correct, we're all going to just walk away, and that judge will just get left alone. That judge should be made account of what he saw in that fight to say, please explain that decision. Because he'll just go on and judge other fights now, whereas they should be made to explain what they saw. But I don't think he'd even be able to explain it. I just there's something that doesn't add up for me in that, how he can have that Liam Davis winning that fight. I mean, personally, I think he deserves a sack after scoring that scorecard for Liam Davis, but the right man won, and that will overshadow the incompetence that he's shown in that for judging that fight. But I think something needs to be done. Even Frank Smith, after obviously his fighter won, he was at ringside and he was saying to people, something needs to start being done about this incompetent judging that we're having. We all know it's what you see and what you like, but you could sit 100 people in a room, and I don't see how one could get Liam Davis winning that fight. That's what you're dealing with there, and I think something needs to be done about it, because it didn't overshadow the win, but he should have had a unanimous decision clearly. But I agree with Carl. I probably had it a little bit more than 3 to 4 rounds. I thought he was that dominant.
I had it a lot wider than that. A lot wider.
Yeah.
Just to go a little bit off subject, I've just seen something that we probably could chat about in a bit. Queensbury going to DAZN in April 2025.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was on the
really?
cards. It was on the cards, wasn't it? But yeah,
Yeah.
we'll come on to that
Yeah.
at the end. Yeah, I think that was always going to happen, Daz. Yeah, I don't understand. Excuse me, I don't understand how Liam's team have allowed him to get into that mindset. Obviously, this is all from the amateur days where Shabazz beat him twice. He's obviously not been able to get over that, and he wanted to make a statement last night. And his way of making a statement was to try and get a stoppage. And Daz made a point earlier on when we were chatting just before we went live that
I was going to come to that.
That the way Liam knocked out his last couple of opponents, he set those shots up. There was no setting any shots up last night, and I think you've got to give the ultimate credit to Shabazz because he wasn't allowing Liam to do anything. He wasn't allowing Liam to set himself. He wasn't giving Liam time to get his timing in, which was causing Liam, and that, in my opinion, I think that was what was causing Liam to rush and overshoot, overreach, be off balance. Just brilliant from Shabazz. I don't normally say this, and I don't normally see this in fights. I thought Shabazz, from that first round, I thought that was it. It was done. He was so dominant. He was so dominant with his jab and his backhand. You said it, Daz, that every time Liam landed, even if he threw a jab, it was countered straight away, and he didn't come back with anything.
Do you know what though? It got into the pattern, and like, I mean, probably from second onwards, every time Liam did something, Shabazz threw that straight left down middle. Now, how on earth? I mean, I was there watching it, and I'm thinking, why are you not feinting to draw that and then going?
Yeah, he was so reckless looking for one shot.
Yeah,
and I think at one point, I don't know what round it was, he did stiffen Masood's legs a little bit because he did catch him.
Yeah, I think it went 7 for 8.
But he didn't stay composed. Like he got all reckless again, going in. I agree with you, Andy. Like his mindset was all wrong in that fight. His mindset was like, I've got to go in and KO him, and you could tell he was all off. Like he was reckless with his shots, and he just looking for. He was never going to land that shot against someone like how Masood fights, and it was just like you say, you've got to have a build up to finding the right shot. He just had none of that last night. But taking nothing away from Masood, he was fantastic, really was.
I mean,
and the credit as well, just quickly, to what we spoke about before we come on, diffusing the situation as well with in the ring when it could have been very hostile with Liam Davis's fans and Masood's fans, like you say, he diffused the situation. He brought everything to calmness again. So hats off to him for that.
I mean, when like with Liam's point of view, I mean, if you're going to go in, where we're double jab up and down to the body with head off at line, and when you're inside, be rough. Or he had the option when every time he twitched, if he fainted and Shabazz threw that left hand, that straight left hand, then go in on him, and just be a bit rough that way. But looking for that one shot, I bet Shabazz could not believe his luck. I bet he thought, this is, what's going off here? Just keep doing this all night. Just trying to throw them bombs. It was like, it was just played into his hands.
Yeah.
He definitely made life easy for Ben Davison in the corner, mate. Because all they had to do was say, I'm doing the same thing, lads.
1,000,000%. Yeah. Just going to, with Casey, just do the same thing.
I think Liam's gonna wake up this morning, mate, and he's gonna
kick himself.
Yeah, absolutely, because he knows he'll know that. I don't want to say let himself down because that's not fair, but he'll know that he didn't fight the right fight. He got drawn in, as you said, it was all about emotion. He got drawn in, and he couldn't get himself out of that mindset because by the time anything changed and he started throwing his jab a bit more, Masood was already in such a groove.
I don't I don't think we'll see him at super bantamweight again, if I'm honest.
You think he struggles at weight?
I think he moved. Yeah, I do. Yeah, he looked. He looked ill. You know.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He looked ill. His chest, when he got in that ring last night, his chest looked like it were sunken almost. He just didn't look right. But that's no excuse to why he lost. But every time when Shabazz went to body with jab, we stabbed a shot into body. Liam literally bent over. You know, did not want it into body. He sort of almost happily took shots to head. You know, it were a bit strange, but I do think he's really tight at weight. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
Okay, moving on down the card, boys. Chantel Cameron has a second fight under the Queensbury banner. In what looked like on paper a very difficult fight. Patricia Berghardt, super lightweight fight. Unanimous decision. Excuse me. Unanimous decision win for Chantel Cameron. 98-92, 99-91, and 100-90. I missed the show on Thursday, boys, so I don't know what your predictions were for this particular fight. Darren, were you surprised by the result?
No, I think on the show on Thursday, we pretty much unanimously said that Chantal Cameron would get a points victory. I thought the performance she was dominant. You know, it's a fair result. But she was trying very hard to try and get a stoppage that weren't really coming off quite early. You could tell that weren't coming off. It was a decent enough performance, but I do, like a lot of people were saying around ringside, and we've spoke before, there is something a little bit missing with her. Don't believe she's as good as she was. I think the two Katie Taylor fights, grueling fights, possibly have taken something out of her. I mean, she's talking now about, she's going to have her eyes very much on that Taylor Serrano 2 rematch. And, you know, she said she's saying they're going to avoid me. Whoever wins will avoid me. Don't necessarily think that's the case, but I don't know what to say about Chantel Cameron. She's doing what she's expected to do with the level that she's fighting. What she'd do going higher now with the likes of Serrano and Taylor and co, I can't see her winning them fights. I think there's still something missing from her at the moment. Like, and it's obviously she's trying to change camps and that, so it's a difficult one, I believe.
Daz, do you agree with what Darren's just said?
Yeah. I'm a big, massive fan of Chantel Cameron. I think I said on show on Thursday, I think a few of us did, to be fair. I think we said, listen, we expect Chantel to win, but this could be a banana skin. But no, she won the fight. She gets it too much for me now. She seems to get it a lot easier now than she ever did under Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis. I don't know the story why she left. No, I've no idea why she left. I can only assume it's personal reasons, because, I mean, as a fighter under them, she had the perfect style for me. She was, you know, catching and countering, aggressive, but she did it with thought. And I don't know. I don't know the reason why she's gone. She looks to me a little bit like she's caught in between.
I was just about to say that.
Bit caught in between that style that's natural to her and trying to, you know, slip shots, and that's not her. Do you know what I mean? So, no, I honestly think it's a bad move, personally. But
as you know, Daz, I'm a huge. Well,
she had her reasons, and she knows them. But no, I just think she gets it too much. Nah, she's not the same fighter she was.
Yeah, I do agree with that. She was, I mean, she was marked up probably from about round 4 or 5 onwards pretty early in the fight, really, and you could see after the fight, you know, the markings on her. She was probably worse than the Patricia Bergold. But yeah, I mean, where would you go with her now? I mean, she's talking about Taylor and Serrano, but that's unlikely to happen. So where would you go with her next? What would you do?
What's she fighting at? Super lightweight still?
Yeah,
Hmm.
she's targeting the super lightweight titles versus Taylor, but she's
Katie Taylor's super lightweight undisputed, isn't she?
Yeah. So she's targeting them because they were her belts.
Yeah.
She's not. I don't think she's against fighting at welter though. I think she's already said.
I mean, would you want to listen? I won't want to see her in with Sandy Ryan, if I'm honest.
She said. I think she said it prior to the fight Saturday that she doesn't want to fight Sandy Ryan because Sandy Ryan brings nothing to the table, in her words.
In other words, Sandy Ryan beats her.
Because maybe,
yeah.
but because she doesn't have a belt.
Yeah.
I mean,
Michaela Mayer beats me.
I respect Chantel for having that mindset of wanting to fight for belts, wanting to fight champions. So there's obviously, you know, there's other champions that you look at, I don't know, I can't think right now.
You see, the thing is, Andy, what she said about Sandy Ryan, Katie Taylor is going to say about her. She brings nothing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I know there's the trilogy. I get that.
That's unresolved, that for me.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I know there's the trilogy and it's unresolved. But Katie Taylor's now in the ascendancy. Katie Taylor's now in charge. You know, she holds the belts. She's in charge. It's wrong. It's wrong. You know, Chantel should have been getting that fight, that trilogy fight. I mean, if she moves up and fights at welterweight,
Tasha Jonas, maybe.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a good fight. I think she's got more of a chance of beating Tasha Jonas than she has Michaela Mayer and Sandy Ryan.
I'll tell you what, though, Daz, just quickly, stylistically, the one that you'd want to see, I think, out of them would be, I think Sandy Ryan and Cameron would be an excellent women's fight.
No, yeah, definitely. It'd be very good. Yeah. I'll tell you what. I think Mayer v Cameron would be a good fight as well.
Yeah, it would.
That'd be quite an action-packed fight. But I mean, she deserves she's been treated shockingly. Let's be honest, in regards to this Katie Taylor rematch.
Yeah.
But I don't know really where. You know, if that's going to happen, if I'm honest, I'd be a bit skeptical whether that's going to happen. I mean, I think if Serrano beats Taylor, what does Taylor do then? Do they do is it like a Khan and Brooks situation? You know, they both not got titles, or, you know, I know Chantel's got an interim, but then do they fight? Would Katie then say, yeah, let's do trilogy if she lost?
She probably would, but I don't think Chantel would want it then.
Yeah, maybe not. But that then would reverse the narrative, wouldn't it? You know, if Katie Taylor lost to Serrano and then thought, right, I've got one more big payday before I retire, have it with Chantel. And then if Chantel's saying no, then Katie Taylor says, well, you've been screaming for it. What's up with her?
Yeah, well, it's a very simple answer, Daz.
It is,
yeah. Belts anymore, and I want the belts.
Yeah, it is, yeah. But listen, boxing's a funny business, mate. That's why we all love it. You know, we just need. I don't think personally the Taylor Cameron fight number 3 is going to happen.
No, I don't.
And I don't think if Serrano beat Taylor, I don't think Serrano fights Cameron either. If I'm honest,
I think that's more likely than Taylor against Cameron.
Mate, Godzilla v King Kong's more likely.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Godzilla v King Kong's more likely than Taylor and Cameron, to be fair. But yeah, it is. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, definitely, it would be more feasible. But
Carl in the sidebar, Daz, is saying he thinks Taylor retires after Serrano. I agree.
yeah,
I agree
possibly, yeah, possibly.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
I mean and in a way, that is good for Chantel.
Yeah.
I know she wants to fight again. She wants to put that wrong right, but it then opens the belts up.
What I will say though, if Katie Taylor loses to Serrano, she's not retiring.
No.
Katie Taylor is not built. Katie Taylor's not built to retire on a loss.
No.
You know, even if she lost to Serrano and then fought Cameron and lost, she'd probably have a 10-rounder against, some Opa just to go out on a win. Do you know what I mean? She's not got, and that's no disrespect to Katie Taylor, she's not got the mindset to go out on a loss.
No, yeah, of course. The champion's mindset, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I kind of echo what you're saying about Chantal. I said it in the chat last night that it looked to me like something was wrong, something was missing. There's a lot of reasons that could be. It's a second fight with a new team. I don't know. They're definitely teaching her new stuff, Daz. They're definitely teaching her a different style. Yeah. So I agree with you that I think she's stuck in between two styles right now. I think at times she falls back to her original style and she looks really, really good doing it. And then at other times she's trying to implement the style that the Smith camper are trying to implement on her, but she seems very happy. That's the thing, I get it if she didn't look happy, but she's come out interviews after interview after interview saying, "I'm really happy. I'm really happy where I am."
Do you think though that, behind closed doors when she's on her own or she's with a partner, do you think she's happy with these two performances she's put in? She's intelligent enough to know herself that she's got it far too much in them two fights.
She may see it as progression because of implementing the style. It may be a case of, well, I've actually done a bit more of that style in this fight than I did in the last fight.
Yeah.
With things we've worked on in camp this time, I've implemented some of them in the fight. It may be that.
But when she's doing that, when she's implementing that style, she's getting it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You know what I mean? And she's sort of got away with it up to yet, but against Taylor or Serrano or Ryan or listen, any of them, Jonas, Mayer, you can't afford to give cheap shots away.
Yeah,
you can't do it. Listen, why would you change something that's been successful? That's what I don't understand.
Carl echoes that in the sidebar, mate. He's put if it's not broke, don't fix it. Don't understand it. Would love to know the reason.
Yeah, I don't know. I can only think it's something personal, to be fair. But that last fight with Taylor, the last one she had under Jamie and Nigel, it was a close fight. Really, really close fight. But the first fight she had with Taylor, I thought she was brilliant.
Yeah.
I thought she was brilliant. And, it seems to me that obviously as something broke down after that, she's gone into the Taylor 2 fight. And, yes, I don't think she looked as good in the Taylor 2 fight, but she was still, still good. But, it's just a bit strange. She was so good at that, catching and countering and pressuring forward. And I'm not even, do you know what? I can tell by reaction. I bet Carl's put some at Sarky in there and then. I've not even looked, mate, honestly.
Right, let me read it out.
I've not even looked. I'm not even going to look. I can
So he's
tell you first start laughing.
He's put, I think fighters are too quick to change trainer stroke teams all the time. It's almost fashionable, although Hurtwell needs to change defo.
No. Yeah. Only got her a Commonwealth title and defended it. 20th world, #1 in Britain.
Yeah. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, Carl.
Yeah, exactly. But no, he's right, mate. Fighters sometimes listen. A fighter will always blame someone else other than themselves. You know what I mean? And I say this. I think you've heard me say this plenty of times. Whenever camp's done, I know that I've done my job. As long as I do everything in that 8 to 12 weeks leading up to a fight, I'll say it's on you. You've got to perform for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's it. I've performed for up to 12 weeks. You've got to perform for 20 minutes. I've given up my life, you know, for you. I've neglected my wife for you. You know, I've lost sleep for you, you know, and that's what I do. That's what I choose to do. So, you know, and all I expect is just to do what I've taught you to do for 20 minutes.
But I will stress, we don't know what the situation is.
No, definitely definitely not. No.
But she's clearly made that decision for whatever reason she feels is right. I mean, things might be going amazingly well in camp, amazingly well in the gym day to day, and it's just not currently translating in the way that we think personally. You know, between us, we think it should be on fight night.
Yeah, well, it takes time. It takes time, but I think it's fair to say on Saturday's performance, if you're wanting to jump in with Taylor or Serrano next, it's not going to have, you know, you probably might be better, but is it going to be enough to compete with elite level? Do you know what I mean? So it's a tough one, but she's made that decision and she feels it's right. So, but all we can see is what we see, and that is she obviously gets it a lot more than she ever did.
Yeah.
Listen, next fight it might all click into place. You know, sometimes it does. Yeah. She's not the first fighter to leave a successful partnership. You know,
not the last either.
No, exactly, definitely not. And they have the reasons. So if that makes her happy, then good on her. Because as a fighter, I always say you've got to do what makes you happy. It might not always be the right decision. You might make a mistake, but if you feel it's the right decision, you've got to do it.
She does seem, to be fair, she does seem very happy, doesn't she? She
does
seem like she's a happy fighter. Yeah.
Okay, moving swiftly on then, boys, to what was the fight of the night. No question. Echo Eshelman defends his WBO European title, beating Ben Vaughan with a majority decision. Scorecards read 97-94, 95-95, and 97-93. Darren, you were in the arena. You saw it ringside.
Yep.
Reaction to the fight, mate. Outstanding, wasn't it?
Outstanding. I mean, from the first bout, like the 2 rounds in, I was saying, what a fight this is going to be. You could just tell the pattern of the way it was going. I mean, when we was on here Thursday, Daz actually said about Ben Vaughan that he could be a bit of a banana skin and he's a tough kid. And Jesus Christ, did he show it? He was just relentless, weren't he? He got hit, he was coming back. And I tell you what, being ringside when they're actually near you by the ropes, the thud you could hear from the both of them. And Ben Vaughan as well. I think Daz said it again on Thursday. You could hear, he could crack. You know, he had some power in them punches. But it was just a superb advert for British boxing. That was 10 rounds. I wish it was 12. That's all I can say about the fight. Really, I wish there was another couple more rounds out of it. I thought Eshelman worked well on the uppercut. I thought his uppercuts were nice, and I was actually sitting by his. I think it was his conditioning coach. He was sitting behind me, and I was chatting to him, and he said they'd been working on the uppercut, and he said he'd heard about Ben Vaughan, about he'd come through the army or something, about he was a tough kid, so they wasn't sort of expecting to knock him out quick or anything, and they thought it was going to be like it could be a duration fight. But I spoke to him about going forward with Echo Eshelman as well, and he said he wants the big fights going forward. But I thought he won by about 2 or 3 rounds, but calling out boot tennis after, don't think you're going to jump up from with all due respect to Ben Vaughan. He was a absolute credit to himself, the way he put on that brilliant display of toughness, ruggedness, and he's also going to be on the next Queensbury show when he's healed in time. Frank Warren said after he's putting him on the next show. But to go from beating Ben Vaughan to talking about Boots Ennis, I think you need to get a bit realistic.
Yeah, I mean, Dazzle second that, I know he will. Just before I come to you, Daz, welcome to Rem in the sidebar. Rem, welcome to the show, mate. He's asked, he's said Queensbury have joined DAZN. Your thoughts were, well, Daz mentioned it at the top of the show, Rem. We will be talking about that once we've gone through this card. So if you have one hang around, mate, please feel free to give us your thoughts on what we're talking about anyway. But we will get onto that point. We're definitely going to talk about it before the show's up. Daz, you echoed last night when Echo mentioned Boots' name. You echoed what Darren has just said. Before you answer, though, I will just say this. We spoke about this loads on the show. Echo has done everything he's been asked of him. Defended his EBU European title numerous times before losing it to Harry Scarf. Goes straight back in the next fight, wins the WBO European title. Now defends that. He never gets headliners. He's never been on a fight card headlining in Nottingham, which I still don't understand. We're going to come on to that as well, because there's also Ezra Taylor on this card from Nottingham. I don't get it. I don't get why he's not had the push he probably deserves at this point in his career. I understand what he was trying to say. Calling out Boots is a big shout. I get that. But I understand what he's trying to say. Give the guy a payday. He's coming to the end of his career. He deserves a shot. Whether you think he gets blasted out by Boots, is your opinion, and probably one that a lot of people would agree with. But give him a shot. If you're not going to give him a shot at a world title, get him out in Saudi on 5v5 and give him a massive payday. The lad deserves it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right, Daz, I'll come to you, mate. Let's hear your thoughts on the fight and obviously the Boots Ennis thing.
Yeah, I mean, the fight last night, I saw, obviously, Ben Vaughan stopped Dom Hunt from our gym in about 50 seconds. Rough, tough kid, obviously. And listen, what he did last night was unreal. How he kept that pace up for 10 rounds. I mean, you can see that you're in army with that fitness. I mean, that was just unbelievable. I had Echo winning by a couple. But Ben Vaughan, I think Ben Vaughan came out of that with some massive credit. Yeah, I mean, Ben, listen, it were unreal. Tough, can hit. I think his corner were calling for him to move his head a little bit more. But I tell you what, when Ben Vaughan worked behind his jab, Echo was having trouble. Echo was having trouble when Ben Vaughan used his jab. But Echo did what Echo does. He's always there, tough as nails, game as anything. And yeah, deservedly got the win. As for the Boots Ennis, listen, I'll just be real. Beating Ben Vaughan doesn't entitle you to fight Jaron Ennis, in my book. If he fought I like Echo. If he fought Jaron Ennis, he gets absolutely obliterated. I wouldn't want to see him flat on his back. He deserves better than that. But he does deserve a big payday, and he does deserve it on a big stage. Yeah. That doesn't have to be Jaron Ennis. You don't have to feed him to wolves. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to do that. He deserves better than that. I mean, Echo's not what he was a few years ago. Listen, put him on a Saudi card, 5v5. and paying well for it. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to think who you could put him on against, really.
Well, let's be honest about it as well. When you look at it, in the space of 6 months, he's had like 2 Fight of the Year candidates, really.
Yeah,
like, in the domestic scene. So when you look at him like for an entertainment factor as well, like I definitely agree. I didn't think that was a good call by Andy saying about like in Carl in the comments, like, you know, even a 5v5, he does deserve some kind of big payday. Like if you're not going to fight anyone like Ennis, I think he does deserve it because he's entertaining, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think who you'd put him against really on a 5v5.
I know it's a tough one, that is.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a certain person coming back from an alleged PED offence, but that was spoke about at one bit, weren't it? You know, Echo v Connor. I mean, I don't really know who you'd put him in with.
His conditioning coach last night, I actually brought up about Conor Benn. I said they were touting for that fight once, and he said to me, "Oh, Echo will give Conor Benn hell," which probably would be a decent fight.
Yeah,
and I said to him,
"It would now as well."
Yeah, well, I said to him, "Would you take that fight?" And he said, "Well," he basically said to me, "Well, Echo's at the stage of his career now. He wants a really good payday."
Yeah.
So that fight is probably realistic, really.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm just having a quick look. To be fair,
that's what I'm doing as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, mate. I'll tell you what could be an interesting fight. Pat McCormack. Echo v Pat. I mean, Pat McCormack's a couple of places below him. So, I mean, you've got the Harry Scarf rematch, I suppose.
What about Paddy Donovan?
Yeah, I mean,
anything that gets him on a, I think 5v5 is realistic. Anything that gets him on a 5v5 card inside where he's getting paid a lot of money, I think his team and himself would take the fight against anybody.
I'll tell you what would be a good fight. It'd be entertaining. Him v Conor Walker.
I was just going to say Lewis Crocker as well, because if Crocker's with Matchroom.
Yeah, Crocker.
I saw a tweet from Sam Jones last night saying Conor Walker's got. Is he fighting Lewis Ritson?
Yeah. On the Sonny Edwards
he
card.
says he's got to deal with Lewis Ritson, and then they would take the Echo fight next. So that's a very interesting one.
Lewis Crocker would be a good one.
I just want to give my 2 pence worth on this one, mate. As you know, lads, maybe a little bit biased, but I'm a massive Echo fan, being a Nottingham boy. Very proud of what he's done as a pro. I actually scored that fight last night a draw.
I can see how.
Controversial.
I can see how.
That's going to be controversial because I think Vaughan got off to a brilliant start, and I had him 4 rounds to 2 up.
I didn't see that, to be honest, from ringside. I got a different perspective of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could probably see.
You do.
Yeah, absolutely. From wherever you're sitting in the venue, I get it, mate. I get it. I didn't think, and I said it on the group last night, I didn't think there was any way that Ben Vaughan could keep up the pace he was setting. Echo's known for it, mate. Echo could have done the 10 rounds like that. That's how he's made. That was Ben Vaughan's first 10 rounder. To do that against somebody with the engine of Echo that doesn't stop, that's as accurate as Echo is, I totally understand how you guys scored it 2 or 3 rounds to Echo because of his accuracy. I get that. I thought it was close because of how persistent and aggressive Ben Vaughan was being all night.
Yeah,
you've got to give so much credit to Ben Vaughan because, like I said, I wrote him off after I think the 4th round. He went back and he looked absolutely shattered. And I said in the group, there's no way he lasts There's no way he keeps this pace. So complete, hold my hands up. Wow,
I think what sort of let him down a little bit down home stretch for his accuracy. He was throwing a lot of punches, and he was missing a lot as well. Don't get me wrong, he was landing a couple, but he was missing a lot. Whereas Echo, probably Ben were throwing 6 to land 2, whereas Echo were throwing 4 or 3 to land 2. So it obviously judges. Listen, I would not have moaned. I mean, even when it come out of level scorecard, I was like, I could see that. It one of them. It was a close fight that could have gone either way.
I'll tell you what, though. I thought it was really nice. Frank Warren was getting interviewed, and he called like someone over, and it was Ben Vaughan, and he had him in front of the cameras, and he said what a massive ticker this guy's got, and he really bigged him up, and he said in front of the interview guys, he literally said, he said, go home, get yourself sorted, go home, rest up with your family. He said, you'll be definitely coming back when you're all, all your injuries and that healed. He said, you will definitely be on one of our shows next. And I thought that was really nice for Frank Warren to do that, to credit him the way he did in front of the media and that. And I thought, fair play to him, and he's going to get a nice, a nice payday again out of that. And credit to him for it.
Right, okay, moving swiftly on, boys. Ezra Taylor demolishes Chris Stamps, Stars, I think you pronounce it, within seconds of the first round. Well, I mean, blew him away. What can you actually say about the fight? What I would like to talk about, though, is what good was that for Ezra's progression? Daz?
A bit of a confidence boost, I suppose. Look, he landed a good shot, and the kid went down and didn't get up in time. So, but yeah, I mean, listen, let's move him on now. Let's step him up now. There's not a lot we can say about that fight, really, except Ezra's probably had harder bag sessions than that. So, let's now, if anything, if anything screams to the management team of Ezra, he needs to step up now. It's that.
Daz, Darren, sorry. If you was Frank Warren, surely you want to get Ezra out straight away.
Well, definitely now, because basically the first shot that he landed, it was lights out. I mean, they keep talking about the Lewis Edmondson fight. I personally think you probably go someone like Dan Aziz first, before the Lewis Edmondson fight.
That's a great call.
Yeah, I think like you go someone like Dan Aziz. Part of it because it'll be an entertaining fight, and Dan Aziz is tough. He comes forward. It'll make it exciting, and you'll see what he's got first. But Lewis Edmondson will be a totally different style of fight because he likes to box and move, whereas Dan Aziz likes to have a bit of a tear up. So I think you need to go someone like Dan Aziz first, get the crowd involved with the fight, see what he can do with it, then move him on to Lewis Edmondson after that.
Daz, I know you called for a potential, or you asked the question, potential fight against Liam Cameron.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're both under Queensbury. I mean, but that don't mean that they won't fight each other. Listen, it's a good test for Ezra. That'd show us where he's at and where he can go. So same with Dan Aziz though. That's the same. The tests, and we'll see where he's going.
Yeah,
we'll see what he's got. So yeah, I think that's all we need to really focus on. He needs moving up.
I keep banging this drum, Daz, and I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to keep on saying it's I'm blue in the face until it actually happens. Why have Echo Escherman and Ezra Taylor not been on a show in Nottingham?
Because the promoters from London.
Yeah, but he's putting shows on in Birmingham and Telford, mate.
Yeah, but
shows in Birmingham and Telford.
That's probably as far as he wants to go.
But they're further than Nottingham.
Yeah, I know. listen, it don't make sense. I mean, it was interesting. Lee Wood were there last night as well.
Yep.
He's a promotional free agent, I think.
It is very interesting. If I was Frank Warren, this is what I would be doing, guys.
I'd sign Lee Wood.
Warren, I'd sign Lee
will.
Wood to a 2-fight deal.
Yeah,
I'd have him fight not a warm up, not a tune up, but something that's going to test him at his new weight. I'd have him fight that at the start of the year, and then I'd break the bank and get him a world title fight at the City Ground in the summer. And I'd have them as chief support. I'd have either Ezra or Echo, vice versa, second and third on the card, because you need to build these two guys' profile within their own city, because they don't have what. And no disrespect to them, they're brilliant lads. They don't have the profile in their own city, and that's it's a sin for the quality that they are as fighters. It's a sin that they're not massively followed like Lee Wood is.
Yeah, I mean. Do you know what though? The longer Lee's out of the ring, the worse for him. For me, he needs to get something sorted quick. I don't want to see him out of the ring too much longer. I think he's already been out too long through no fault of his own.
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, listen, it was interesting that he were there last night. Frank was also. I mean, he could have been chatting to Ben about obviously the Shabazz and Davies fight, but he also could have been chatting about Lee. Who knows?
Well, there was two guys there last night in Lee Wood and Joe Cordina that are free agents. Them two could fight each other.
Interesting. Sat like 3 seats away from each other.
Yeah.
I know that Joe Cordina's moved up now, so that fight's not going to happen. But that was a fight that I was touting for when I found out that Lee was going to be moving up, and Ben was still the IBF champion. Joe Cordina was still the IBF champion. I was wanting that fight in Nottingham because what a brilliant atmosphere that would have been.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's very interesting. I personally think that Lee was there as a teammate supporting Baz.
Yeah.
I'm not reading anything into that about the fact that he may have been talking to Frank in the meantime. Well, let's hope he is. Let's hope he is. Let's hope Frank gets him out on a massive show. But I don't think that was the case last night, lads. I think he was just there as support.
Yeah, I'll go along with that.
Carl in the sidebar is Hawkan's also joined. Welcome, Hawkan. Carl in the sidebar is put with Lee Wood coming to the end of his career. There's a gap in the Nottingham market. Let's get them out at the arena. He's talking about Ezra and Echo. Nothing. Cole's also put nothing's off the table now that Queensbury are going to DAZN.
I mean, Kakachi's got to fight that Sugar Nunes, I think. He's been
mandatory.
Yeah. I mean, I would have liked to have seen Lee Wood v. I mean, to be fair, when Lee Wood fought Warrington, that should have been Wood v. Kakachi for me.
But Lee was injured, mate.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, fair enough, but that still should happen at some point. But is he going to get the winner of Sugar Nunes and Kakachi?
But if he is, he's waiting another 4 or 5 months, mate.
Exactly.
And
he does need activity.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So he needs to get out, even if it's in a little 8-10 rounder.
Yeah,
just shake some rust off.
Yeah, agree. And then have a world title fight, like I say, in the summer.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Moving on, guys. Moving on. Because I'm conscious of time, and we've got a couple of other topics to go to. Quickly on these last 2 fights, then, lads. Ethan James beats Jermaine Osborne Edwards. Unanimous decision, 97-93, 99-91, and 99-92. Darren, I was expecting this to be a real close, good fight, and it didn't turn out that way, did it?
No, but I actually had the scorecards a little bit wide. I thought the scorecards were actually a little bit too wide, to be honest with you.
Right.
I thought it was a solid fight. But I do think the scorecards are a little bit too wide. But I mean, where'd you go with it? Where'd you go with it next? Do you go like an Owen Cooper rematch or what? It's a difficult one, but I just think that division and like the UK domestic scene is very, very, very busy. Or do you go someone like a Liam Taylor next? It's a difficult one because the UK division is so stacked with fighters there. So you could pick a number of fighters, but do you go Liam Taylor or do you go someone with an Owen Cooper rematch or something next?
Daz, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I only caught last few rounds of this, and it is the same Osborne Taylor that I have seen on some shows. So I said if it were him, it would be he'd put up a decent performance, and I think he did from what I saw. Yeah, I mean, listen, Ethan's a good fighter, but I definitely think the Owen Cooper rematch is something they're going to look at. I definitely think that's the way they're going to go.
Seems like the right thing to do.
Do you know what I thought I think they could do as well? If they didn't do that, I think they could do maybe do a Owen Cooper versus Ben Vaughan.
Yeah,
that would probably be a good fight.
Yeah,
And then you could do Ethan James versus someone like a Liam Taylor or something like that. If Owen Cooper is going to go against someone like Ben Vaughan,
I've got a feeling any fight Ben Vaughan is going to be a contender for fight here. To be fair,
well, Owen Cooper would be.
Yeah.
I mean, his fight with Echo Esserman was great, so the style would definitely be out.
Yeah.
Okay, lads, last one on the card for us to talk about, and then we're going to move on. So a quick one on this one. Debutant heavyweight Lewis Williams beats very durable Lamar Griggs in a second round stoppage KO. How impressed were you with Lewis Williams, Darren?
Yeah, as we was talking before we come on air, his opponent was very durable. And I think it said he's only ever been stopped on his feet by Tony Yoka, was he?
His only other stoppage on his record was against Tony Yoka, which
that's speaks volumes, and it a 2-round blast out, and not the way he stopped him as well. So all you can say is very exciting times ahead. I mean, he looks the part as well. He looks like he's got some real power as well. So all you can say from so early in his pro career is exciting times to come. And obviously Frank Warren knows what he's doing with his heavyweights. He'll step him up slowly but surely.
It's going to be interesting to see where this kid goes and how quickly he progresses. Daz, did you see this?
I didn't, mate. No, I've not seen that fight, but I will be watching it.
I know. Lamar Griggs is a local lad to me. I know him. He's very tough. I've seen a number of his fights. He don't get stopped like that. So that kid must have power. I will say though, the shot that landed for the first knockdown, the one that scrambled Lamar, it hit him just at the back of the ear, and obviously those sort of shots can do anything, can't they? And I don't think he really recovered from that, because before that point, I thought he was doing all right. He was asking questions, he was throwing shots, he was getting stuck in. So, yeah, be interesting. It would have been interesting to see how that fight might have progressed for the other 2 rounds, with it being just a 4-rounder. Had that one shot not landed where it landed. But anyway, it is what it is. That's how it went. Let's see what Lewis does going forward. Right, seeing as though we're talking about Queensbury, it was asked earlier on in the sidebar. Cole's also mentioned it. Daz mentioned it at the top of the show. The announcement's been made that Queensbury will be moving to DAZN in 2025. I'm sure TNT are really happy about that. Not. But the writing was on the cards, wasn't it? When the announcement was made that DAZN were getting the sole rights for
Riyadh season.
For the Riyadh season cards, it was obvious. I mean, Cole mentioned it. Cole brought it up on one of the shows. It was obvious that this was what was going to happen. I think it was just a case of when. This in a way, it's really good, and in another way, I think it might be difficult for boxing. It's really good in the sense that the 2 big promoters are under the same network now, which means it's going to make it really easy to make these fights. The downside is where's the competition? Where's the competition for the boxing fan? You know, who gives that extra dimension for a boxing fan to go elsewhere? Because all you've got left now is Sky.
Yeah, I tell you what though, Queensbury going to the DAZN, I think that opens up something that could happen with these small old promoters who have got together, like your TM, I think it's TM14s, your Nielsen's, Dennis Hobson. They're all working together. So I tell you what, they're putting on, you know, some decent top tier as well. They're all working together. They're putting on some good fights.
Do you think it's a possibility that they could have like a joint contract with TNT then?
It's a big shout. It is a big shout, and it depends if TNT want to keep putting boxing on. I mean, I'm not. Listen, I don't know what's going to happen with Shalom and Sky. I think Boxer are going to end up under the DAZN as well at some point.
Jesus.
I think it's just going to be monopolised, and I think that. Listen, we aren't getting too much away. I'm hearing things from some of these small old promoters that they're not entirely unhappy with this.
Right.
You know, so that's telling me something. You know what I mean? You know, I can't speak for all of them, but the couple that I've spoke to aren't entirely unhappy if everyone goes to the DAZN. They're seeing it as doors are opening in that case. I know GBM are on the DAZN at minute. I don't know if this is entirely true, but I think next year, I mean, I've heard March is when DAZN decide whether they're going to extend the deal with GBM. Like I say, it's just hearsay that. I don't know if it's true, but I presume that if they decide to extend that with GBM, then they will put money into GBM towards fight cards and stuff like that. I mean, GBM have just signed Shakan Pitters as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's happening there, but if they do that, then yeah, I mean, these doors opened. There's a lot of these small old guys. Well, I call them small. I mean, listen, top tier put on some fantastic shows as well. You know, if they all get together, they listen. They could produce something. If they're willing to work together, they could produce something between themselves.
Yeah, I agree.
They've got some big names on board behind them. I mean,
Dennis, it's not a far cry from where Matchroom started.
No. I mean, listen, I can only sort of speak from what I've seen, but I mean, Dennis having and Fight Zone and that, having Roy Jones Jr. behind him, I mean, that can only be good. I mean, there was a show in Ipswich. Fabio Wardley showed up to it because it's his hometown. And to be fair, that's sort of what GBM started off like.
Yeah.
You know, they started in Sheffield, and then, you know, you'd got Kel there and Johnny Nelson. So that's how they started. End of the day, mate, it don't matter if you've got Boots Ennis fighting Terence Crawford. Your average person who's flicking over Sky Sports or TNT, if they're looking at fights that are going to be absolute belters, you know, up and down wars and close fights, I don't think the percentage of, you know, casual fans would be bothered who they're watching knocking lumps at each other. You know, yeah, you're going to have some quality, you know, some quality on as well, which they will. But I mean, I think it says it all that the general attitude of these small old guys is, yeah, it's great if they all go to the zone because it's opening some doors. That's how I interpret it.
Carl, what's your perspective on this?
Very interesting, isn't it? So I'll call them small or promoters, might be a bit unkind, but what they want is TV slots, right? TV slots are gold. One name I'd probably throw in the mix is probably Pro Box TV that I watched on Friday night, who had just joined up with Conlon Promotions. You've got Paulie Molinardi as part of the commentary team. You've got Teddy Atlas doing some little bits of analysis back in the TV studios in America. So they're household names. So, you know, TNT could be courted by such names as giving them a contract. I don't know. But I knew this was going to happen. I called it whenever Warren first brought it out. Listen, he must be offered a lot of money. Warren would never have put this in the public domain back then if he wasn't going to take it.
Yeah.
So, leaves boxing in a bit of a precarious position, if I'm honest with you, because like Daz says, it's almost becoming a monopoly. I think they will buy Boxer or get Boxer under their umbrella, however you want to put it. But it does open opportunities. Because you remember, Sky Sports broke cover with Eddie Earn, didn't they? Before that, they was going with people like Atom, weren't they, and mixing it up a little bit with small old promoters. So I don't think TNT will go down that route. I think they'll choose a promoter and build the profile. So I think someone's going to get a golden ticket here, and it's maybe the best promoter wins, right? That's
listen. They could even, choose, like if there's a group of 2 or 3 promoters working together all the time, they could even say, listen, throw them a golden ticket, work together, become a company together, a promotional company together, and we'll push you. Who knows?
I think like Steve Goodwin and people at that sort of level should be absolutely putting their shit in a row and getting ready to put a picture over.
Listen, I missed some names out there. I mean, you've got TM14. I think you got Mark Nielsen, Dennis Hobson. You got Carl Greaves. Steve Goodwin. Listen, these promoters were putting some really good stuff on. So, get them all together, and we might have a bit of something what we want.
Yeah.
Darren, what's the pros and cons of this for you?
Well, first off, I want to know what my subscription price is going up to. I presume that there's going to be obviously changes with things like that. But the interesting thing that Daz mentioned, I didn't know GBM's contract was sort of till March. Well, I was just reading that Queensbury starts April. So is that is GBM going to be not with them anymore, and then Queensbury, or they going to have Queen?
I will just clarify on that, Daz. That's what I have been told.
Okay.
But I've been told off quite a lot of people the same thing, and quite a lot of people who would know as well. So I've no reason to think that it's wrong. That it's like a trial period.
Well, here's one for you then, Daz. Would GBM slot into the TNT slot then?
Why not?
Well, the thing is, the way they're all
why not
sort of working together now, and their fighters are doing cross promotion things, you would think that GBM will be staying with DAZN and it will work like that.
Daz, I've got to say, GBM do look like the poor relations a little bit, don't they, at the minute, regarding slots and regarding getting.
I'll tell you. Listen, I'll be honest with you, right? And I've got a lot of respect for Izzy and team. They gave Nicola 2 shots at a Commonwealth title.
Yeah.
So I've got utmost respect for them. I'll get on really well with them as well. But from just an outsider's point of view, when you look at their cards, what they're putting on, and you see who's on their cards, and again, I could be wrong, but that looks and screams to me as they're being told to put guys on who were under Queensbury or under Matchroom because they can't get them on their cards. Such as Nico Levers and Muhammad Ali, Huey Fury. It's like they're being told to put them on. We can't get them on our shows, put them on your show. Do you know what I mean? Because I think we've gone from GBM having cards full a local talent to, you know, pretty much no local fighters, you know, and why? You know, there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent around, you know, Sheffield. But I don't know. I mean, only they can answer that. But that just is how it seems. Do you know what I mean? It just is like they're being sort of told who, you know, put these on your show.
It shows you what a pound note does, though. Because remember when Frank was talking about the DAZN as the app?
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, but so it sounds like then that GBM going forward, you would think will be part of the plans. It's just interesting if their contract does end March and Queensbury starts April. It just makes you wonder a little bit about that. But I just hope that it makes things better for British boxing. That it ain't just about Saudi. That you have Matchroom, Queensbury, all on the same channel the app, where you can put the fights on in Britain that we've been wanting to see here, rather than just going to Saudi all the time.
I mean,
time's going to tell on that, lads. Time's going to tell.
I mean,
I do presume the subscription will go up though. It'll probably go up another £5 to £7 or something.
That's my concern about the monopoly side of it, is because all that's left, unless TNT do something, because all that's left is Sky. They're not exactly breaking any molds at the minute, are they, when they're putting shows on? So unless they decide to pick their level up, there's no other option. Everything boxing wise is now DAZN, and so basically they can do what they want. They can charge what they want, and if you want to watch boxing, you're going to have to pay.
Yeah,
that's my concern.
What do you think? I mean, we're not like anything to do with it, but what would you think realistically? I mean, I said probably put it up another £5, but when you think, I know there's more sports on it, but TNT Sports, what they've charged a subscription a month, and you're going to take part of that package away and put it on DAZN. I mean, what do you think realistically they'd put the price up? How much price increase do you think they'd go?
Yeah, I mean, what? Yeah, I mean, TNT, they've got, obviously they have Odd Boxing Show, which obviously is going to be gone. They show UFC, but the big UFC fights are pay-per-view. So
I would say though that, just, you know, playing devil's advocate a little bit, Turkey Al Sheikh he's the one that stopped DAZN putting the price up too much for that last big Anthony Joshua show. He wanted to keep it at a reasonable price, and he told him he had to keep it at a reasonable price.
That's the Riyadh season. He hasn't got control over non-Riyadh season.
No, I get that, but I just get the feeling that this is all heading towards being the Turkey Al Sheikh show, mate. I don't know how much of DAZN stuff you're actually going to see that are UK shows going forward. You know, in the next 4 or 5 years.
That's all well and good, but what happens when he gets bored?
Well,
you know, what happens if he thinks, I'm a bit bored with boxing?
So someone asked Frank Warren that question last night about stuff like that, and he was very his answers were very quite like not angry, but he was very upbeat, like, no, that, like, you know, that's not that's not gonna that's sort of like basically saying it's not gonna happen. Let's concentrate on where we are now. Let's enjoy the boxing and that. Like, he just swept it under the carpet.
It must be a very good deal from DAZN to get him over from Queens. That's all I can say. And he's very astute. So I'd imagine what is it? I think they've announced, is it a 2-year, 3-year?
Hang on, I'll have a look.
I think they've announced the longevity of it. So
hang on, I'll tell you. The tweet they put out is quite short. I think they've said that all they put is starting April 2025 will become the global broadcaster partner of Queensbury, and together we'll deliver the boxing's biggest matchup to the fans worldwide. But I haven't gone into the ins and outs of it. That's the tweet they put out. So
interesting.
I mean, it's saying worldwide. Obviously, you know, that's great, but I want to keep like the British side of things as well, with Matchroom, Queensbury, GBM, and all these promotions coming together to put the best fights on for the British fans as well.
Do you know as well a good thing? And listen, it's all easy me saying it. It's hard being a promoter, a small old promoter, should I say?
Oh, yeah.
It's really hard. But the formula is stop putting knockovers on.
Yeah.
Stop it. You know, put fights on. Listen, I'm not saying chuck your prospect in, you know, in deep end. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm saying do it the old way. You know, step them up each time.
Yeah.
You know, in performances where you think, yeah, we need to work on this.
And don't protect them just because they're a ticket seller.
Yeah, let's listen. I'll be honest. Let's stop conning public. You know, let's stop building fighters up to like, well, whatever they are, you know, and they've never had a proper fight. You know, let's stop doing that. Let's do it properly, because it's obvious. You know, it's not rocket science. You know, I got told this when I was a youngster. You get a fighter who's 12-0. You look who he's fought. Everyone's got a losing record. Then look at someone who's 10-4. You know what I mean? And he's lost to unbeaten, top quality kids. You know, who's the better fighter? You know, it's not. It's what class you mix in, and I think there's a lot of it going on now where you go into some of these small shows, and you can pick results. You can pick results out. I mean, it's been going on for ages. I mean, if you look on a betting app, I'm not going to name a betting app because there is others available. But if you go on a betting app and you look at the betting on boxing, mate, most of the time it's like 1 to 50 on. You know, 1 to
face.
Yeah, 1 to 100 on. You know, stuff like that, and it's like it very rare is it sort of, you know, even out, which is, you know, fair enough. If you've got a big prospect who's come from, let's say, GB, and they're fighting someone tough who listen, that's going to happen. But stop putting fighters in with people who are, you know, who are there to lose. You know, especially on these shows that, you know, you're charging £100 for a ticket.
Daz, I've heard it, right? I'm not going to say where I've heard it. I've been to a lot of shows and a lot of promoters, and no one can pick out where I'm talking about this. I've heard a fighter say to another fighter who's just about to get in the ring with, if you don't ping me too many times, I'll make you look good. I shit you not. That's what I heard said.
Oh, God.
You know, so where do you go from there, right?
Oh, mate, yeah. I mean, yeah. Can you say?
Right, lads. Just quickly moving on to a last topic of the night. Something that was brought to my attention. So PBC. It's staggering how far they have fallen in the last 5 or 6 years. So this year alone, in 2024, they put on 5 shows for the whole year. If you go back to the heyday, which was 2016, they put on over 40 shows in that year. The shows this year, all the shows this year have been, I believe, on Amazon. I'll come to you, Carl. Just kind of, if you can, quickly give us a thought on what you think is going to happen to PBC, because this is yet again, we've already had 2 massive broadcasters in the States turn the back on boxing, and now you got one of the biggest stables in the States looking like they're going to be closing up shop.
Yeah, I put in the chat when you raised this the other day, didn't I, regarding the Showtime deal that they lost. You know, that's a lot of slots that they lost and a lot of money. I just think PBC have come very unfashionable. They've got a poor name in the game for not mixing the fighters with other promoters, being very precious. And I just think boxing's left them behind a little bit. Obviously, the owner of PBC likes to do things his way and won't come away from that. Even Bob Arum at Top Rank has had to change the way he works, right, to make sure that he's still putting bums on seats and and making the business of boxing work for them. So I just think the only way I can describe it in a nutshell is boxing left them behind, pure and simple.
Numbers don't lie.
No.
So, and I mean, just going quickly off of PBC. Did you see Don King's video over there?
Yeah.
Told you, didn't I?
You said resurfaced, didn't you?
I told you. I says, listen, Don at 94 will be in the middle of that ring in Riyadh season, waving that American flag. I told you it'd happen. Told you.
He's going to do Rumble in the Jungle too.
They always say, if there was ever a plague, there's only two things that would survive: rats and Don King.
Probably right, mate. Probably right. So, Daz, your thoughts on PBC?
Yeah, mate, I think it's gone. I think it's going. It's like I just said, numbers don't lie. Yeah, it's just there's not really a lot I can say about it. I just don't think.
Would you be surprised, mate? Sorry, would you be surprised if I told you they've done 5 shows this year? 4 of them, 4 of them were on Amazon. The last one, which was the Tim Tszyu fight, was bankrolled by Tim Tszyu's business company himself.
Not really.
Dreadful profile. Tim Tszyu's got no profile.
Yeah.
And he bankrolled that show.
Yeah.
And PBC piggybacked off the back of it, apparently. Allegedly, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, if that's happened, mate, it's disastrous, isn't it? Yeah.
I know Amazon's a big platform, but you can't just land a fight on a big platform and expect it to take off. There's some groundwork that's needed. I've not seen no publicity for that fight. I've not seen no, 24 hours. You know, you have to do all the documents, build it all up. Yeah. So I think it's lazy.
You know why, don't you? Because you've said it already, mate. PBC are an ancient boxing network. They don't do things the modern way. They're stuck in the roots of back in the day when they had loads and loads of fighters and they just basically fought their fighters against their own fighters.
But surely Mr. Executive from Amazon, he's going to be wanting some content like that. Surely you'd have thought, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, trouble is with boxing, when boxing evolves, if you don't evolve with it, you get left behind.
Yeah.
Darren, what's your thoughts, mate?
Well, when we was talking about this the other day, I actually went onto the website and you go on and it says Premier Boxing Champions, boxing at its best, watch top fighters like Gervonta Davis, Canelo Alvarez, David Benavidez. And then it says the first thing is boxing schedule. New fight schedule is coming soon.
Yeah.
Nothing. Absolutely zero. And that just epitomises of what you're dealing with now. So just really sad, really, from what they were to what they've gone to. And I just don't. What's left of it, really? There's just nothing happening. It's just shambles, really. That's the only thing you can say about it.
Well, I think that sums up that. Great show again, lads. I'm going to call it. These Sunday shows are taking off. It's lots of comments in the sidebar. We had some new names in the sidebar today. Thank you very much for that. Thanks for the regulars in the sidebar. Daz, Darren, Carl. Always a pleasure. Thanks for being on the show. Right. This has been Last Bell Boxing. We do this every Sunday at 6 o'clock, and our regular slot is 7 p.m. on Thursdays. Like, comment, subscribe if it's the first time watching the show, and you'll get notification of when we're going live. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.